Yo, what up guys, I'm Sammy and welcome back to the Sword Brothers channel, and this is my first impressions look on the Under Armour Curry Hovr Splash. So this shoe just came out, it's going for 110 bucks, it's pretty damn cheap. And does it remind you guys of another shoe that came out? Like, not super recently, but not like that long ago. And yeah, look, the Curry 305. I believe this was like 100 bucks or 110, I don't quite remember, but it's not available on Under Armour anymore. So if you guys do want to cop the Curry Hovr Splash, I'll try to leave an affiliate link in the description box. There are 3 colorways available. And starting off with the Tracciones, does the traction look familiar? Does it? Yeah, it did to me, and I was like, yo, it's identical to the 305. So they pretty much reused the outsole from this shoe, and the 305 had great traction. But of course, maybe they changed up the rubber compound, so we'll have to see on that. But yeah, I mean, we have like a wavy herringbone traction pattern, and we have a lot of flex grooves in the forefoot and here in the heel. I mean, it makes sense in the forefoot, right, for the flex groove, but I don't know why you would need flex grooves in the heel. That's kind of weird. But yeah, trying it on my wood floors, it seems to have a pretty good bite. Not top tier though. Like the 305 had really solid traction, so hopefully it breaks in, gets nicer. And also, it wasn't super squeaky. Unfortunately, there's a little bit of a squeak, not super loud or anything. And also for durability is kind of weird because there's some really soft spots. Like if you look at the parts where the rubber is like thin, it's super soft there, right? But when it gets thicker, it's obviously thicker and harder. So I don't know how it's gonna be on an outdoor court, right? But the grooves are deep. So I'm guessing it'll be okay on an outdoor court, but it probably isn't the best option. And also, I like how there are like black speckles in this red outsole. That's a pretty nice touch. So there's a traction. Moving on to the heel to toe transition. That's actually something that feels pretty interesting to me, right? So in the 305, it's a lot flatter, right? But here in the Hovr Splash, I have actually a better shot of it. There's a very pronounced V shape to it, kind of like a rocking chair. So the shoe comes into contact with the ground like in the midfoot here, right? And then the heel definitely curves up a little bit, and the forefoot curves up a lot. So it's weird. It has like this weird rocking motion, and I like it, honestly. I feel like heel to toe transition is gonna be very, very smooth. Here in the heel, we got a nice rounded shape as well, and fully exposed Hovr midsole. So it has a good amount of compression, and it feels very smooth and soft in the heel, and in the forefoot, nice curved shape and a lot of forefoot flex. Midfoot does not flex that much, so torsion support feels like it's going to be good as well. Moving on to the cushioning setup, that's one thing that is different though. So here in the 305, I believe this was micro G, it's full length micro G in this. And then here in the Curry Hovr Splash, obviously they're using Hovr. And for Hovr, Under Armour puts like this mesh over the midsole. So that's one way you can tell that it is Hovr, right? And look, it's fully exposed, right? And it actually feels pretty damn nice. I like it. But it feels very similar to the 305. You know, there is a good amount of compression. I would say the Hovr is a little bit softer, and there's a little bit more compression though. Especially here in the heel, it feels very, very nice. And then also there is a little bit of compression in the forefoot. As far as the step-in comfort goes, the insole, they're using a regular Ortholite insole, which step-in comfort's alright. And then underneath the insole, the strobel board is quite stiff. Hopefully it gets better and breaks in and gets a little bit softer, but the step-in comfort, I would say, is just alright, right? Court feel also feels pretty damn nice. You know, you're low to the ground. So yeah, I'm liking the cushioning setup so far. I feel like it's gonna be a responsive cushioning setup with good compression and adequate impact protection. All right, as far as the materials go, they're using an EM. It's an EM material, and it's really, really thin and also very soft. Look at that. It conforms to your foot extremely well. And then here in the toe box, they're saying this is 3D printed. So I guess that's pretty cool, but it's basically just like a fused material that goes all the way here into the medial side, which kind of doesn't make sense. I guess it's more for design. You don't really need support here, but either way, that's going to be good for durability and support. And they also kept it here on the lateral side as well. And yeah, it feels great, but it doesn't feel as like, it feels a little bit cheaper than 305 though. I don't know why, right? And also the 305 feels a little bit like cozier, although the Hovr Splash feels like it's a little bit like it conforms to your foot a little bit better. You know, it moves with the movement of your foot just a tiny bit better than 305. I'm nitpicking. I'm just trying to pick out the differences because I am comparing these two shoes, but they both feel very, very similar on foot, right? And also here in the midfoot, it stays extremely thin, but the tongue actually has a little bit of padding, which feels nice and cozy. And the tongue also is a half booty construction tongue, which gives you a better overall one-to-one fit and keeps the tongue in place, right? As far as the ankle padding goes, I would say there's an adequate amount of padding. It feels nice and cozy, so it feels very similar to the 305, right? The tongue also here in the 305 was very plush, and there's adequate padding here in the ankle area, but also here in the midfoot and here in the toe box, it was very minimal. So yeah, it feels very similar. I like it. It definitely does look cheap though. I mean, it's $110, so you can't really complain. It looks like a cheap material and it feels kind of cheap, but it feels really nice on foot. So there's that. Moving on to the fit, I went true to size. It actually runs a little bit short. Like my toes go right to the edge of the shoe and it feels a little squished. And I don't know if you guys can see, but it like cuts flat. It's kind of weird. I don't know why they design it like this, but like comes down and it just goes boop. It's just like flat. So if you don't like that, I would suggest going up half a size. But if you want like a nice, really snug fit lengthwise, then you're probably good going true to size. Here in the toe box, it is quite snug, but I feel like this EM material is going to stretch out a lot because it doesn't really feel glued down, right? And it doesn't feel like the most supportive material either. So I feel like once I plane it and break it in, it's gonna get roomier here in the toe box. And also width-wise, I would say it's slightly narrow. So for me, overall, it's quite nice, although the length is just a tiny bit short. But it's not something that's like a deal breaker or anything. It's just like crushing my toes just a tiny bit. Alright, moving on to the support and lockdown, I feel like it's gonna be pretty damn good, right? So here in the 305 though, we actually have the synthetic leather here on the lateral side acting as a sidewall, right? And I guess the foam coming up just a tiny bit, but here in the Curry Hovr Splash, we don't have that. We have this fuse material, which doesn't really reinforce this EM that much. And like I said, this EM doesn't feel that supportive either. So I am a little bit worried here in the forefoot how that's gonna be. But also, I guess there are these little eyelets. The eyelets do come down into the material all the way down. And I guess when you tighten the laces, it does kind of like reinforce the material just a tiny bit. It acts a little bit like flywire, right? But I don't think that'll help that much. So we'll have to see it on the lateral containment here in the forefoot, but here in the heel and also in the midfoot, I mean, we have the foam coming up, and also there is an internal TPU heel counter. So there is the support there, and also lateral stability feels like it's gonna be good. You know, as far as the comparison goes between the 305, it's pretty identical. Yeah, it's identical. So I mean, there was good lateral stability in the 305, and I feel like the Hovr Splash is gonna be good as well. All right, moving on to the weight of the shoe. It feels extremely light. I like that. So I'm guessing like 10-11 ounces. Yeah, 10.62 ounces. Extremely light. Let's check the other pair. 10.65 ounces. Yeah, so extremely light, very minimal on foot. I mean, Hovr is a very lightweight foam, and they're not using the outsole. I mean, rubber is pretty heavy, right? And it takes up a lot of the weight in most shoes, but they're not using a whole lot of it, right? And it doesn't come up that much. It doesn't feel bulky at all, and like I mentioned, this material is just extremely thin, so it feels great on foot. And how much was the 305? Yeah, 12.2 ounces. So there definitely is a bit of a weight difference there, and obviously because it's using like leather materials, leather is pretty damn heavy. So there's leather here and also here in the ankle area, also on the medial side. But hopefully they didn't sacrifice support for that, you know what I mean? Because the 305, I mean, coming in at 12.2 ounces is still light. You know, that's lighter than average, you know what I mean? So we'll have to see on that for the full performance review. As far as the aesthetics go, I like it. I like this colorway as well. I don't think it's like the best looking shoe, but I also don't think it's like hideous. I feel like it's, you know, it's a pretty good looking shoe. So tell us what you guys think of the aesthetics down in the comment section below. So wrapping things up, the Curry Hovr Splash for 110 bucks. Could it be another 305? We'll have to wait and see on that. And is it gonna be on the top like budget shoes list. We'll also have to see on that, but it's feeling really good so far. Two things that I am worried about though is the support here in the forefoot on the lateral side and the traction. Hopefully the traction gets really, really good. It's not feeling amazing right now. So there is my first impressions on the Under Armour Curry Hovr Splash. Again, if you guys do want to cop, I'll try to leave an affiliate link in the description box. But that's it. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.